Hey everybody, Dr. Bob Vaughn. It's a cold and flu season, and as everyone keeps telling us, and I have a couple pointers to help you prevent the flu, things you may not know about it, and a different way to look at it here. So first thing, the question is, why is there a cold and flu season? When it's the off season, do the viruses take a trip to Florida or they go somewhere other than here? No, the cold and flu viruses are here year round. It just seems to happen more through the winter months that we are more susceptible to that. And we should really be, instead of asking how we cover it up or what we do with it, we should really be asking ourselves, why does that happen in the first place? So the reason for that is actually pretty simple. There are a lot of different stressors and things like that that will actually affect our ability to fight that. So how we're supposed to fight colds and flus is we're supposed to use white blood cells. So I'm going to bring this up here, so bear with me a little bit. All right, so I made a drawing here, and this is what we are supposed to be fighting with. Ooh, fighting with the screen. There it is. We want to use our white blood cells, which are basically designed to destroy bacteria, viruses, fungus, things like that. Basically, they envelop them, they eat them, and then they go away. And that's how our body's designed to fight things off, like viruses, okay? The other way that we're designed to fight things off is with antibodies. So antibodies are for things that don't change. For example, some different viruses, mumps, measles, things like that. Once you have the antibody, you won't get it again, right? That's why when we were kids, they all used to put us in a room when our cousins got chickenpox, so we'd all get it over with right away. What happens is when you try to vaccinate for the flu, is the flu virus mutates all the time. It's constantly changing, and when you make an antibody, it has to be very specific to just that virus. So the shape has to fit. So that little baby toy you had with all the different shapes, and the kids that try to put the square in the round hole and it doesn't work, that's the same thing how antibodies work. So when you have an antibody that's the right antibody, it goes into the cell, and then that prevents that virus from working properly. That's how antibodies are supposed to work, very simplified. The problem with the flu virus is that it mutates so much that the flu vaccine is essentially a guess on what strain it's going to mutate into. And this year, they guessed pretty wrong. It's one of the H3 strains, which mutates so fast they can't even try to predict which one it's going to be, which is why the flu shot has not been nearly as effective as they claim it has been in the past, where the CDC is even talking about that part of it. So it's really important to know that this isn't how we're supposed to fight the flu virus. We're supposed to fight the flu virus with white blood cells. This is how our bodies are supposed to work from a physiological standpoint. So with that, it's like, well, if that's the case, how come we still get flu? Well, and cold and flu. Well, the big part of it has to do with there are things that decrease your white blood cells' ability to work. And what those are stressors. Two specific stressors, if you think about the time of year we get colds and flus, are usually around Christmas time, right? So one thing that we see is we're deficient in vitamin D. We make vitamin D from the sun, right? Well, we can do that in Minnesota, June, July, and August because of where we are on the planet. The rest of the months out of the year, we're unable to make vitamin D. Minnesotans specifically and people around the same latitude on the planet are chronically deficient in vitamin D. Vitamin D has a huge impact on your immune function. If you don't have enough vitamin D, your white blood cells don't work properly. So we've been starved from the sun. That's the first thing. So what do you do about it? You supplement vitamin D. 1,000 IUs for every 25 to 40 pounds of body weight is the recommendation for vitamin D on a daily basis. So it's really important to make sure that you're getting enough vitamin D. We recommend the Innate Choice brand here at our office. You want to make sure it's a pure, organic, naturally occurring compound. You also want to make sure it's D3. You don't want D1 or D2 when you're doing that, and you want to take it the same dose throughout the day. The mega dose is your body can only absorb so much. So, you wouldn't feed a starving person 50,000 calories in one meal. You would gradually introduce them to food and build it back up so they get used to it. Same kind of idea with your body. It can only absorb so much. So vitamin D is the first one. Other things that are going to affect your immune system are going to be stress. So what happens that's stressful around the holidays? The kids leave school. We're hanging out with families and in-laws. We're traveling. We're out of our routines. That increases our stress, and that decreases our body's ability to use its immune function. Basically, the reason that happens is fight or flight. Our only response to stress is fight or flight. Okay? When we get ready, when we get under stress, if you're getting ready to run from a tiger, your ability to kill a virus is not important, because you have to get away from the tiger before that even becomes an issue again. So your body intelligently decreases your immunity when you're under stress. The problem is we don't run from tigers anymore. Our stressors are all around us. We got a job we don't like, or stressful things. We're driving in traffic. Our environments are very hard. So you want to make sure that you're managing your stress. And then the last thing to look at is sugar intake. So who eats more sugar between Thanksgiving and the holidays, right? Everybody does. And they feed it to kids, and then they wonder why the kids are squirrely, and then they wonder why the kids are always getting sick, and they call the kids little carriers and all that other stuff. And it happens because when you eat sugar and vitamin C, which is something that people hear about for preventing colds and flus, are almost chemically identical. They're roughly 1 bond difference between vitamin C and glucose. And interesting fact, humans and I believe bats are the only 2 mammals on the planet that aren't able to take vitamin C and turn it, or glucose and turn it into vitamin C on its own, which is why we need to eat citrus fruits. But besides that, vitamin C binds to your white blood cells and your antibody cells and things like that to make them work correctly. Sugar also binds to those white blood cells, but when sugar binds to them, they're not able to work effectively. That's what happens with it. So if you look at the holidays or cold and flu season, what happens? We're deficient in vitamin D, we're stressed out, and we're eating a bunch of sugar. So there's 3 strikes against our immune system. Then all of a sudden these viruses that allegedly come out of nowhere or come back for their season take over, we get sick, and we have a cold and flu season. So there's a couple options for that. You can be reactive. When you get a cold and flu, you can sleep, you can eat right, you can get fluids, you can add vitamin D and vitamin C and those types of things and be miserable while you suffer through it and your body finally heals. Or you can be proactive. You can take your vitamin D on a regular basis. You can manage your stress through exercise, eating right, things like that. You can make sure that you're decreasing the amount of processed sugars and things that you're taking and being active with it. So it's really important to make sure you're taking that proactive approach when you're looking at cold and flu season. And also remember the actual physiology behind it. The most important thing is not for you just to believe me, but for you to go out and do the research. From a physiological standpoint, we're not designed to our body isn't designed to fight the flu virus, which mutates all the time, with an antibody. If you look at it from a scientific standpoint, that doesn't make sense. We're designed to use our white blood cells and our other immune functions that go in and actually kill those cells, but we have to make sure they're working at 100%. So to review, in order to make sure you're preventing colds and flus, vitamin D, 1,000 IUs for every 25 to 40 pounds of body weight on a daily basis. Lots of water, about half your body weight in ounces. Decreasing your stress, exercising, staying active, keeping happy thoughts, and making sure you're decreasing the amount of processed sugars in foods that you're intaking and eating real food. Making sure mostly plants, real food, mostly plants, not too much. That sums up the human diet. So this is Dr. Bob Vaughn, your local health and wellness expert. Hope you found this helpful. If you have other questions, comments, or anything like that, feel free to leave them below. I'm happy to answer any questions or direct you any of the research and things like that as well. Get out there and enjoy, and make sure you stay healthy this cold and flu season.